per testa? Everything was fine. Great. Whenever you feel like. Dear guests, welcome in the day 2 of Digital Summit Prishtina 2022. It's our pleasure having today with us at the opening session of the Digital Economy Day, Mr. LUKAS MANDL, EU Deputy, and Mr. Mark BOWMAN, the EBRD Deputy President for Policy. In the first session, we will talk about 2 topics. The first one is digital diplomacy, to be presented by Mr. MANDL, and then the second topic will be digitalization and the focus of EBRD strategy in Western Balkan 2021-2025. For a greeting speech, we will invite Minister of Economy, Ms. Artane Rizvanoli.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here on the second day of the Western Balkans Digital Summit 5, which we are proud to host in Prishtina. And I'm happy to say we've had a very successful day, thanks to all the exciting and passionate panelists, speakers, all the kids in the coding, robotics, and all the side events. I am very happy and proud to have been part of the first day's activities, and I do hope that we have a second day which is as successful as this one. Those of you who have participated yesterday and in the side events have heard about 2-3 speeches from me already, so I promise I'm not going to deliver another speech. However, I just wanted to be here to welcome you, especially those of you who have not already been part of day 1, and particularly our guests, Mr. MANDL and Mr. BOWMAN, as well as the businesses that I hope will have fruitful B2B meetings today. Wish everyone a very productive and enjoyable day, and see you during the day.
Thanks a lot, Minister Rizvanoli. Now, due to the limits on our timing and agenda, I will invite our friend, Mr. LUKAS MANDL, for his speech.
Thank you very much. Thanks to all of you for joining this event, and special thanks to the organizers and the initiators of this important event, and I will try to emphasize why I think it's important in a second. Honorable Minister, sorry for not properly shaking hands. I ran into the room because I was already late, and I came from Korea directly with a stopover in Istanbul. So I left Seoul, another capital, and landed in Prishtina, the capital of Kosovo, and in between was only a journey of 18 hours. And I came from a country which made a huge success, especially in the field of digital technology and especially in the field of technology development. And I want to compare it with Kosovo and with the Western Balkans in its entirety. And I also want to compare it with Israel, a country I had the privilege to visit a few weeks ago again. And it's true for all the three, the Western Balkans, Korea and Israel, that there were struggles, there were trouble in history, in recent history, in history long ago, and we all know that. And even as a parliamentarian on European level, I have to deal with it each and every day. And I like to deal with it because I want to contribute to the solutions. But to solve problems can only be the one part. To take advantages for the future, to take the chance to create future opportunities for this generation and generations to come in the Western Balkans is the other side. And we have to do both at the same time. And this is the first thing I want to convey to you. When should we contribute to digitalization, to innovation? In academia as well as in business, it's now, I guess. Because this is what the examples I have before mentioned show to us. Israel, as you may know, was founded in 1948, and since then has been under attack from nearly all directions, all the time, at all borders, as the only democratic rule of law state in the region. But Israel decided to create at the same time civil society, economy, academia, education, and it worked. It's a vibrant state, a vibrant society, largest number of startups per capita in the world. And it worked. And still there is the attack. Just imagine if Israel would have waited for the end of the attacks to create a civil society, it would have never happened. Similarly is Korea, South Korea. Before it was occupied by Japan for a very long time. Then it was at war, a very brutal and bloody war. Then there was a dictatorship. And then the democratic rule of law-based South Korea started to deal with the threat from the border, which is still there, as you know, but at the same time to create civil society, academia, education, business. So hopefully we can say today the 6 Western Balkan countries are far better off than these countries in history. I just repeated history, but we know there are shadows from the past. And I wish for the generation of now and the future generations to step out of these shadows and go towards a brighter future. And digitalization is the field where I feel this pursuit of happiness, as it is written in the Constitution of the United States, can really be realized. Why? Because there's not much traditional industry left. There is agriculture, but you can't live from agriculture alone. You can't also not live without agriculture, by the way. I know that as an Austrian with a lot of farmers. So there are many young people, young talents. As you know better than I do, the average age is so low, especially in the Republic of Kosovo. So these young talents seek for opportunities, want to work hard, seek for education, want to have some success in life. And the field of digitalization is the field where many are already working on and have been working on for many years. As it is said also in the facts and figures from the studies, outsourcing is in proper place. Many countries in today's European Union have companies who outsource IT services to Western Balkan countries. But the venture capital is not yet following. So outsourcing is good, financing is not that good. And that's why it's so good that we have this conference today. That's why it's so important that we can share the message I try to emphasize. And the message is the Western Balkans could become something like the Silicon Valley of Europe. I have emphasized that already many times in speeches and press releases and so on. Never in this room yet. By the way, I remember in this room, if I'm correct, for the 10 years anniversary of the independence of Kosovo, the National Orchestra played a beautiful concert. It must have been this room, maybe some remember. And it was impressive. It was unforgettable because it was this clear signal of culture and of really a maturity among states, as a state among states. So Silicon Valley of Europe. That's what the Western Balkans can become. And I was already criticized because I say Silicon Valley, that's in the US, that's again not European. Yeah, but it tells us a clear story. It is not European. We have not yet developed something like a Silicon Valley in Europe, but we desperately need it. We desperately need it. We need innovation because innovation is the basis for production, and we need production because without production we won't have job creation, a proper labor market, wealth, social welfare systems as we like it in Europe especially very much. So everything is dependent on innovation and on technology and development. And this is why we can see the example in the Silicon Valley, and we will see where in Europe such a shining light of innovation and technology will develop, and I guess the Western Balkans are a good place for it. And the synergy between EU and the Western Balkans is obvious, I would say, because what the EU still has is investment capacity. What the Western Balkans have is people, young talents who are also willing to work. So this synergy is obvious for me, and that's why it makes sense to work on the Silicon Valley of Europe in the Western Balkans, and that's why I really highly, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate that we have this conference of today. To underline some of the before said words, I want to share with you, I want to ask you a question. You can just shout out, yell, maybe it works. Among the top universities worldwide, what do you think on what place would be the first university on EU soil in today's European Union 27? Among the top universities worldwide, what place does one in the EU have? Just shout out. It's not schools or... what was that? You said 10? You have a very good, let's say, meaning for the European Union. You like us? What was that? Beyond 30, you mean? That's pretty accurate because it's 32. It's 32, and it's LMU Munich. In top 10 are 2 from the UK, Oxford and Cambridge. But we lost the UK. Sorry that you have to learn it that way. And on 15 is a European university, the ETH Zurich. What does that tell us? That is one of many figures which really prove that we have something to do. We have a lot to do in the field of research and development, in the field of academia, in the field of universities. And what do we have to do? I guess, as already mentioned, the EU has investment capacity, Western Balkans have people. What it means for EU to create such a Silicon Valley of Europe is stability and autonomy. We work hard in the European Union on what is called strategic autonomy. And after some considerations in the bureaucratic bodies in Brussels, it's now called open strategic resilience. What's meant is always that we should become less dependent on supply chains, on semiconductors from other parts of the world for our production processes, less dependent on innovation from other parts in the world. Because you may know this old joke, it's old, it's only a joke, but it tells us a lot. It gives us some food for thought, I would say, that if there is something new on the world, on the planet, then the Americans would have been the ones who have invented it, the Asians would be the ones who produce it, and the European would be the ones who regulate it. So we have to overcome this. If there is some truth in that joke, we have to overcome this. We need our own production, we need our autonomy, which will give us also more stability. And then it's a question of security as well. We see hybrid warfare, and we have seen hybrid warfare already before February 24th, when the conventional war has been started on Ukrainian soil, but on European soil in its entirety, and we were targeted by hybrid warfare already before. And this includes disinformation, misinformation, cyber attacks, and everybody of you may know companies who were attacked via cyber attacks, but there is a dark number of companies which is not yet revealed, but still there. And if we invest in that field, if the young people in Kosovo and the entire Western Balkans become more and more mature in software development, software engineering, artificial intelligence, robotics, then we will be able to defend ourselves and the people in Europe and the European values, our way of life, the freedom which is attacked, the peace which is harmed by the attackers from outside. And it's also Europe which always put ethics into the procedures of developing new technologies. And this will be also important when it comes to artificial intelligence, to robotics, and fields alike, because that the human remains the decision taker is not given automatically. It's something that has to be implemented via ethical standards. And this is maybe the true and the right and the correct part of this joke that Europe would regulate things if they are new on the planet. They need some regulation, they need some frame in order to work properly on behalf of people and not against people, on behalf of us humans and not against us. I want to share with you the experience in the United States in fall last year, when I had the privilege to visit universities and academic institutions, research bodies in DC and Boston. And it was pretty clear there, more than I thought or from the European side, that the January 6 attacks and riots on Capitol Hill in 2021 caused a lot of, let's say, headache about what can happen via social media. And today it's clear it was triggered via social media that more and more people came and even went into the parliament's building of this important democracy on our planet, and were rioting on Capitol Hill. And that was the moment where, let's say, at least the academics understood in the United States, maybe also social media would need some regulation, some framework. The before mentioned Brexit also wouldn't have happened without hybrid warfare. We can go deeper into that. There are many books written already on that issue. I have mentioned education several times. I want to emphasize also the relevance of media, of true journalism, that people, let's say, more and more, even in Germany, they had a huge issue before the elections to the Bundestag recently, that people more and more, let's say, develop the ability to distinguish between a true message and a false message, between disinformation, conspiracy theory, hate speech, fake news on the one side, and something that's really developed by a journalist, that's researched by maybe evidence-based science or by journalism in media, because this is an ability we all have to develop, myself and all of us, I guess, and even more our children for the future. The European Parliament is conducting a special committee, already the second special committee, because we found out that there is so much work to do. A special committee against disinformation and foreign interference, as we call it. And by the way, we also found out there that already before February 24th, 60% of hybrid attacks in Europe had their source in the Putin-led Russia, in the Putin-Kremlin regime. So this is clearly part of the war we are in. It's a hybrid part, a conventional part, and I have no doubt, let me share that with you, I have no doubt that our way of life, that freedom will prevail, that liberty will prevail, that democracy, rule of law will prevail. The question is how much suffering will still happen until then, and what can we do to make it as short as possible. And this is maybe something all of us in the one or the other way work on each and every day. You want to stop me? You can. Then let me conclude. Let me conclude. I didn't know the time frame before. Let me conclude with something hopeful, full of hope, at least in my view. Due to a KPMG study, 2022, pretty recent in March, the tech and innovation hotspots on the planet are in Bangalore, in Hong Kong, in Tokyo, in Shanghai, in London, in Beijing, in Tel Aviv, as mentioned before, amazing story, New York City, Singapore, and Ho Chi Minh City. So why wouldn't it be possible that in 10 years one of the hotspots is in Prizren, for example? A campus in Prizren with a business part, a security part seems extremely important to me, which is government-driven then, as well as an academic part, a research part, opportunities for young talents from all the 6 Western Balkan countries in Prizren, and possibilities, opportunities to study there from people all around the world. This would be a clear signal, but what's needed for that is investment, venture capital. People who believe into these things we discuss here, or at least I try to implement in this dialogue and this discussion process. And I guess this event is meant to provide the opportunities to not only discuss it, but also to bring it on the way, because then we can really contribute to this generation and generations to come. And this is for EU, that's what I wanted also to underline, and for the Western Balkans as well, a true opportunity. Thank you again for having me, and sorry for being long.
Thanks a lot, Lukas. Thanks a lot for the overview and the inspirational speech about the potential developments Kosovo could get. Not a real Silicon, but a Kosovo model of digital society. Now we'll switch to Mr. Mark BOWMAN from EBRD, and focusing on the EBRD midterm strategy with a direct impact on the Western Balkan perspective to digitalization. Mark.
Well, thank you very much, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. It's a real pleasure to be here, and a real pleasure to be here to open the second day of this digital summit. You just mentioned the 10-year anniversary in this room. I'm told also that this was the room when the EBRD started operations in Kosovo 10 years ago. This is the room where the ceremony happened to mark this occasion. So very pleased to be in this room with the history it brings with it. Now, this is a great opportunity, as you say, for me to talk a little bit about the EBRD's work in the Western Balkans and our approach to digitalization. The EBRD's mission is to help countries of operation to transition to sustainable market economies. That was the mission when we were set up 30 years ago. That mission is just as relevant today. But of course, in today's world, countries need to embrace the challenge of digital transformation. And we've heard just now and heard about the opportunities, the real potential for this region in terms of whether it's the Silicon Valley of Europe or however you want to kind of articulate the opportunity. You see the opportunity from the many great companies represented in this room here. I think we also understand some of the risks and the importance of tackling issues such as cybersecurity, the importance of resilience. And I would add to that actually the importance of ensuring that as countries go through the digital transformation, ensuring that parts of society aren't left behind and excluded from the benefits of the digital transformation. Now, as I said, the Western Balkans is a key region for the EBRD. We're very proud of the work that we have done here. We are one of the largest institutional investors in the region. You talked about the importance of investment. We in a wide range of projects have invested almost 30 billion euros cumulatively over almost 1,500 projects. And last year alone, we invested over 1.8 billion in this region. As we go forward, we are committed and we want to do more in the digital space and more in terms of, as I say, helping countries with that digital transformation. And a year ago, we launched our approach to accelerating the digital transition, which we're going to outline what and how the bank would try to deliver for partner countries and for clients. Just to talk very briefly about that, there are kind of three main components to our approach. First of all, what we describe as establishing the foundations of a digital economy. So that's the basic regulatory framework, the infrastructure, the digital skills. We've been focused very much on enhancing digital connectivity, especially in rural areas. With the work, for example, with the Western Balkans Investment Framework, we've been promoting digitalization as a driver of economic growth and helping countries to position themselves. In Montenegro, for example, we've helped the government with technical assistance to deploy broadband infrastructure in rural areas, helping over 72,000 inhabitants have access to high-speed internet. In Serbia, for example, we extended a 100 million sovereign loan for deployment of broadband infrastructure that will connect 90,000 households and 600 schools and public institutions in rural areas. And similarly, in Kosovo, we financed the expansion of broadband in the country and provided technical assistance to the regulator. Most recently, we provided emergency liquidity support to Kosovo Telecom during the pandemic, and we're now engaged with the government to help reform Kosovo Telecom and other publicly owned enterprises, and very much looking forward to taking that work forward with the minister. The second sort of key block of our digital work is promoting the adaptation of organizations, so digital transformation of businesses, municipalities and supply chains. And we have many great examples of where we've worked with companies in terms of helping them to modernize and use digital technology in order to become more efficient. In Bosnia and Herzegovina, we're piloting one of our most exciting initiatives to support the digital transformation of small and medium-sized businesses with the EU and with its pre-accession assistance. We have extended some 40 million euros in financing via local banks to promote automation and digital transformation of SME business processes. And we've also complemented that with almost 10 million euros in advisory services to help SMEs along this journey. The third core component is fostering innovation, and clearly there's a great deal of energy and innovation in this room. We're building on lots of experience in the region, promoting growth among early-stage technology companies. And from the early days of the Western Balkans Enterprise Development and Innovation Facility, which we took forward with the European Commission and the EIB, to today's SCV Technology Fund, we have a long history of carving out targeted finance for early-stage technology companies and supporting them through financing. This is a unique role for the EBRD, and we can have a unique role via our Star Venture program. Active across the Western Balkans, the EBRD partners with startups, accelerators, mentors and investors to channel a whole range of bespoke advisory services and industry best practices to startups. Through workshops, mentoring and technical assistance, the program helps improve the efficiency of their results and scale up rapidly. And out of the 31 enrolled high potential startups in the region, 4 are from Albania, 1 from Bosnia and Herzegovina, 6 from Kosovo, 4 from Montenegro and 10 from Serbia. And from Kosovo, it's worth mentioning that LUKAS has also attained an equity injection from the funds, and we're very pleased to welcome Blitz Media and Giraffa, who both joined Star Ventures earlier this month. Yesterday, I arrived here in Prishtina, and I had the opportunity to visit Speaks, a very fast-growing BPO company with a massive, well, very impressive growth over the last few years, but massive potential providing business services to other companies across Europe. And the EBRD is very proud to have been involved with their work and supporting them for the last 5 years. We're very proud of some of the work we've done, and we look forward to supporting many more companies in the region. So these are the three main blocks of our approach. First of all, establishing the foundations for a digital economy. Secondly, promoting adaptation. And third, fostering innovation. And we do that through combining policy dialogue with investments, providing finance to companies, and also providing advisory services for our smaller clients. And that's both helping them to ensure that their digital investments are sustainable, but also that they are inclusive and cyber aware. So by implementing this ambitious agenda and applying that range of tools, we aim to become the partner of choice when it comes to accelerating the digital transition in the economies where we invest. But of course, we completely understand that we can't do that alone. It's about partnerships, and partnerships are an essential component of our approach. Very pleased to work with many colleagues and partners in this room today. And just to conclude, because I know we're running a bit late on time, just to say that we look very much forward to continuing to work with all of you as we advance the digital agenda across the Western Balkans. And that digital transformation can only take place through comprehensive engagement, something that we think the bank, the EBRD, is very well placed to deliver, given our rich combination of private sector investment, advisory activities, and public sector policy engagement work. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Mr. BOWMAN, Mr. MANDL. I just want to maybe share with you that Kosovo just finalized and approved the Digital Agenda 2030, and there are 5 key strategic objectives under this agenda. Top of that is infrastructure connectivity, then business transformation, it's e-education and innovation, e-governance, and cybersecurity. Under these 5 key strategic objectives, then there were developed the action plan accordingly, and budgeting for the next 7 years. All of them also allocated to key partners that our government is working with in the implementation of such strategy. Now, the digital economy, the digital diplomacy are almost shrinked to each other with the partnership developed and built among the government and business sector. In the occasion of the Digital Summit, Prishtina 2022, as part of the Western Balkan 6 summits, we are very much involved in the internationalization of the development of innovation and digital economy. Very much interested to make it a European hub into the perspective of digital economy. Thanks a lot once again from our side as team of Prishtina Digital Summit, hoping all these what we have shared with our partners and among ourselves will have a new path in the next year. Mr. MANDL, Mr. BOWMAN, thanks a lot, and hope to see you around in the Digital Summit again. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Now we'll start with another roundtable tech park session in a few minutes.